So you just happened to be at this particular strip club?
I got it.
Tony had
Tony
a girl.
or Kelly.
Tony's Gumata was working.
No. It was probably Kelly. So our friend Kelly was dating this girl, Annette, who worked at that place. So Annette probably called Kelly and said, "Hey, Jimmy Page is here. Get down, come down here."
And knew that. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that was probably the connection. So we hopped in the car and went down, and it was a place that we would frequent. It was like I said, it wasn't. There was a couple of places like the Gold Club and Cheetah that were high end places that I would normally not go to.
I just did, drop some names too. I went to the Cheetah with Zach Brown.
Oh wow, there you go. Yeah, so it was a cool story to tell. What's that?
That somebody else was paying.
On your account. So was that? How long ago was that? Was that because I only know of him recently?
Yeah, 2008.
Oh, okay, right, yeah, okay,
yeah.
I mean, this goes back to the mid '90s. So for those listening, would have been like 95, 94, something like that. On that Page Plant tour.
That was
those listening. You mean your wife? But that's
she's not listening. This predates all of that.
Right.
Predates meeting my wife.
Yeah, that's what I was at Atlantic Records, and that's when I was working with the Tragically Hip, who got to open the LA shows for that Page Plant. That was but I only got to meet Robert, didn't get to meet Jimmy.
And then there was the story when I was in Atlanta that Robert Plant was at like some chain restaurant like the Salad Works or something. It was like, oh yeah, over in Piedmont Mall, Robert Plant was, people saw him eating at the salad, and I can't remember the name of the place, but it was something like that. They only sell salads,
Salad Shack.
Salad Works.
Right on.
Chopped.
Making it low key. Yeah, well, Jimmy Page kept it real. He was out after the show at the strip clubs.
Yeah, well, I mean, gone were the days where the strip club was his hotel room.
Yeah, he actually had to go out of the right. It was no longer the Riot House or whatever. He had to go out. I was like,
I keep skipping that far out Laurie Maddox story. By the way, it wants me to read it, but I'm like, I really don't care.
Yeah.
So you're saying he sobered up at what point? Because he wasn't sober then.
Like the second go round of that tour. Like apparently he hit the road, started drinking again, and then they went out on I had seen them like they did the Garden twice. They did like the Garden at like sort of the beginning of the tour, and then they did the Garden again like the second go round. The second time it was like mind blowing. Like it was like I felt like I saw Led Zeppelin. Like they did a lot of early. They did like In My Time of Dying, and they did trying to think. They did a lot of like the long bluesy jam stuff, and it was just like, and Jimmy Page was just insane. Like,
I was going to say my comments were that show or that part of the tour when it was with the full orchestra, it was phenomenal. And then I think I want to say they did a tour a couple of years later that I saw them, and it was just the
Return to Clarksdale or something like that.
Yeah,
it was a Road to Clarksdale.
And that was either a 4-piece or a 5-piece at most. And that wasn't too good.
Was Robert Plant able to hit the notes? I mean, that's a wild card right there.
They probably played the stuff that he could do.
Yeah. That's what I know when they did the Zeppelin thing, they did change the keys. When they did the 2007 show, they actually changed some of the keys so we could hit notes. But
I'd kind of noticed that. Like, I think they played Saturday Night Live around that time when they came out.
When Page and Plant did, yeah, that was the '90s thing, yeah.
And I thought there was a drop in there. I was just like,
now at some point within the last 10 years, I saw Plant up at the Capitol in not Poughkeepsie but Westchester, and his band. That was the best show I've ever seen of him.
He was
awesome.
His bands are really, really good, yeah.
But he has like 8 guys playing, which is what you need to really pull off a Zeppelin song.
But this last band, he's had for like 10 or 15 years now. Like
it's probably that band that I saw. Yeah, they were great.
I forget what they're called, but they're it's a little more psychedelic and
yes,
rock
yes.
a little harder. Yeah.
That album that had come out, that it was like Lullaby. What was that record? Something in the Lullaby, and he had that it was like, he had like 2 or 3 albums come out, and and they were,
that band's really good.
His new stuff was good. The Zeppelin stuff they played was amazing.
Well, that's what he was saying. He said that like he didn't want to play the Zeppelin stuff. The band kept asking him to do it, so it was like there was a lot of enthusiasm from the band. Yeah. He said it got him charged back up. Yeah,
and being in such a small venue, seeing him there was great. That it was like. Yeah. Like, wow, this is where we normally stand to see bands that we know, but to see Robert Plant 10 feet away was wild.
Happy birthday, John.
Right. Let's wrap it up.
Okay. Enough of that. Yeah. So
why don't you tell everybody where they can hear us, since we never did an official intro, right?
We probably did not slate in, yeah. You have been listening to The Beatdown. We are available on Apple, Google, CastBox, and Stitcher. Subscribe to us and know when a new episode is available. If you have something to say, send us an email at thebeatdownmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Still getting crickets over there. But, and by the time you hear this, we'll have had 4 episodes out on the new season 2. So hopefully we'll hear some comments. And I wanted to tell you guys, it was surprising. I guess it was like last week I looked at our stats. Somebody went and must have listened to the previous season, because I was surprised. Was that one of you guys finally listening to us?
No.
Wasn't me either.
No, but we have
been telling people, right?
Well, yeah.
Somebody has.
But people don't listen. Like, you can't just have one. People go, they dig in. They go through all of them. Like,
the potato really chips of ear candy.
Desperate pleas for more episodes during our hiatus. Like, people were addicted, man. They drank from the fire hose.
All right.
Well, we're back on the swing of things. So
my kid asked me today. I was coming home and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to do the podcast tonight." And he was just like, "You guys make money doing that?" Like,
that's how we're funding our retirement. Come on.
Like, do you just do it for fun then? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, it's more for fun, bud.
But wasn't there's a good
it's
lesson
like rock
there.
and roll. I know.
Right.
It's just like we make as much money as we did in the band, Chris.
He wasn't disappointed. Like, I'm just like, he just asked, it was more of a matter of fact.
Speaking of which, I just got to get to it. So my son's opera column in the local Red Hook paper came out today.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Opera critic.
Okay.
It is just called Opera by Frank Rasso. That's the thing. Monthly.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe we'll get him on at some point this season to comment.
And Patty Smith happens to be on the cover of the paper. So there we go.
Oh, look out! All right, so she's reading that, and yeah, and seeing your son has no idea how old is he? He's 15.
There's a story about Radio Free Brooklyn in there too. All coincidence. So it all fits together.
Yeah. Anybody else we need to plug? Your show's on Monday. Is it you're having a show on Monday?
14.
Well, he's 12.
12.
Wait, your son's only 12? I thought he was older than my son.
He's only 12. That's only
great.
12. He will be 13 in January.
Okay. It's good. He's right in the wheelhouse.
Other plugs, listen to Radio Free Brooklyn Monday nights from 5 to 6 for This Music Hour with yours truly as the host.
Yeah, good. It's a good hour of music. I love it.
I like to keep
this music hour is our music hour.
I'm waiting for Phil Spector to produce that. I think it needs some more love.
So John, I real quick, I got that text that you sent about Odetta, and I followed up on that, and then I remembered, what was that Odetta track that I was really big on? So that'll be playing on this episode. It was cool. Mama Told Me. I was like, oh yeah, that's the one. I love her cover of Mama Told Me. And then I got a bunch of Joan Baez versions. So I think that was released. Her version was released in '64. So when does Elvis hears the song, and then when does he cut it?
It's 65. It's on the soundtrack.
Oh, okay. So it's like
now.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan and Joan Baez lovers.
Yes. So she had a big crush on him, and he was the woman. His girlfriend was the woman on the cover, Susie Rotella, the cover,
right?
And at the same time, he's having an affair with Joan Baez, and Joan Baez is taking him around the country as like not as the opening act, but coming on and doing like 2 or 3 songs together, or him doing a song in the middle of her set. Not to a great deal of popularity, but it obviously it builds up over the course of 63 into 64. Like she takes him to the 1963 Newport Folk Festival.
She does.
But so that song Tomorrow's a Long Time is actually the first. I found the first person that does it is there's a folk duo from Toronto, I want to say they're called Ian and Sylvia, that Bob Dylan gives it to them to do.
Oh, okay.
So that's the first one. So he actually it's funny what this Bob Dylan book I'm reading, and then I won't go too deep into it because we're at the end of the show. Is like Bob Dylan essentially wrote his first 3 albums like in the late 62 to 63. He's got like Blown in the Wind, Hard Rain, and Times Are A-Changin', like by the middle of 63, and all of those records aren't out until like early 64. 64. Right. They're all out by the time the Beatles get here, and then that's when he gets an electric guitar.
So. Oh wow! And one of the other things I followed up on too is so Woody Guthrie spends time over here in Morris Plains at the Greystone Psychiatric Hospital.
Yep.
Which is there, no more. Which has been completely razzed and erased from the face of the earth.
Just recently, though. I mean, it was around
in the last 4 or 5 years.
5 years, yeah. Yeah,
and that's where Dylan would head out to visit him there, and then he was transferred to a place in Brooklyn, far out, and Dylan would get there, go visit him there, and bring friends out all the time.
My mom worked at Greystone when she was doing their nurses training, as a matter of fact.
Do you think her years crossed, or when?
I don't know that
Woody Guthrie was there.
She would know who Woody Guthrie is, and yet, but I don't think she would have been. It was all business to her.
Mm-hmm. No, just as a matter of tying it all up, with your. That would be. I think that would be neat to find out, just to
So all roads lead to the Beatles in New Jersey. That's all I'm saying.
Somehow we have to make a connection. Right. Yeah.
Where are the Beatles in New Jersey? We'll get to the part where John where's his house outside of Wurtsboro area, John? Like he and Yoko buy a farm they bought a farm upstate, and she's got all those cows and stuff like that. She's got a bunch of Holsteins that she puts out there, and I think it's outside of Wurtsboro.
I do not know the location.
Another tidbit that I was trying to track down, I found a good article about the Les Paul story and Jimi Hendrix, and I got him telling the story. I found a YouTube clip and a great New York Times article, and he's calling the place Allegra. So I haven't been able to locate where it is. I thought in the article I read 30 years ago he was talking about somewhere in Lodi. You're saying it's Hackensack or Teaneck. He says he's driving in the city to drop off tapes in the city, him and his son, and it's a place called the Allegra. I've been Google searching, trying to figure out, and I can't come up with.
But it's No Name Jimmy playing there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's playing in a band. It's not the Jimi Hendrix band. But
it's not like a place. It doesn't even sound like it's like a touring band place. It's like a house band kind of situation.
Something like that, right? Because he says, so the story Les Paul says is that he goes in there and they're playing, they're auditioning, and he's just like, oh wow, look at this guy, but he's like, I can't stick around. I got to get into the city. He leaves his son in the car, and he's like, okay, I got to get going. And the bartender doesn't even know the guy's name who's playing. And when he comes back, he's like, did you ever, those guys, the club, the bartender guys, like they're like, forget it. You're not for here. Get out of here. What are you doing? and throws the band out. And so when Les Paul comes back later in the day, or, you know, he asks about it, and he's like, oh, those guys, I got rid of them. They were too noisy.
I read a book